Meeting to order. Good to see everybody. Guess we'll start with establishing a quorum and then do some introduction of the commissioners. So Tony, I see you're online. How you doing? I'll start with you to just introduce yourself and start
Good morning. Good morning, Tony Harbaugh, Commissioner, retired law enforcement.
Steve Morris, Helena, Montana.
Janet Taylor, Rollins, Montana.
John Metropolis, attorney in Helena, Montana. Leo Prigge, Commissioner, Chair, CPA from Butte, Montana. So it looks like with five of us present, we have a quorum. And so we'll just keep swinging around the room for introductions on everybody. Got Sales Director of the Montana Lottery.
Ryan Costigan, Lottery. Bill Charpentier, IT Services Director. Sergeant, Finance Director.
Ann Charpentier, Marketing and Sales Director, Montana Lottery.
Chase Peasley, Product Manager, Montana Lottery. Logan Jackson, Sales Manager, Montana Lottery. John Iverson with the Montana Tavern Association.
Scott Richner from Kalispell. Ben Camerzell, General Manager, Intralot.
Carol Kruger, the Lent Agency. Corey Radcliffe, Customer Service Representative for Montana Lottery.
Dan Iverson, Content Manager for Montana Lottery.
Lena Beckton, Marketing Insights for Montana Lottery.
Dave Bond, Product Manager, Montana Lottery.
Hey, thanks. Welcome, everyone.
Attendees.
Oh yeah, attendees on the online.
For the record, we have Dan, James West, Jolene Boyd, Cassie Kulchin, Michael Rennie, Patrick Johnson, Rhonda Wiggers, and Sean.
I'll turn it over to Director of Sales for introduction and staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I'd like to introduce our newest member to the commission, Janet Taylor. Served with Janet for 10, 12 years in the Montana legislature. She was served on both appropriations and Senate Finance and Claims, and she served on the interim audit committee that had oversight for the lottery. So she's somewhat well versed with what we do down here, at least from a 30,000 foot view, and just really excited to have Jana on board. So welcome aboard, Jana. We're glad to have you.
Thank you.
And we have one new employee, Corey Radcliffe, and Corey's a Montana, if you'd stand. Corey's a Montana native. She graduated from high school here in in Helena. Over the years, she's held various customer service jobs with Costco and the Clancy School District. She's married, mother of 3 children, and likes to hunt and fish and cheer for the Bobcats. So welcome aboard. We're glad to have you too as well. So welcome. That's what we have.
Hey, thank you. So the next item on the agenda is an opportunity for public comment. I think as we go through here, some of these items, especially the ones where we need public approval, we'll ask for some additional public comment, because anyone online or anybody in the room have anything to start things off, where they want to comment on anything to address the commission?
No public comment online.
Okay. I'll move on then for now. Looks like we've got two minutes, two sets of minutes. One was the last meeting we had as our full lottery commission meeting. I think that was on June 15th, and then we had a special meeting to approve a financial report on July 14th. Did the commissioners get a chance to review those minutes? The packet that sent out a couple days ago. If so, I'd approve. We could probably take these 1 to 2 motions here, one for each. Yeah, I move to approve the June 15th. Okay. Commissioner Metropolis, move to approve. Any discussion or a second?
Second.
Okay, thanks, Steve. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on those or corrections to those minutes? Okay, hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of approving the June 15th minutes signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, hearing none, the June 15th minutes are approved. How about the July 14th minutes? Any corrections, discussion on those, or I take a motion? Question. Okay, I do not attend. Impact. The video. Not entirely sure, but I mean, I think it was, at that point, it was Steve and Dwayne and I believe in that, on that call, if I remember correctly.
And we had a quorum, I can't.
We got a forum, I think
Dwayne was there.
Mr. Iverson was there. He was still, so I think you could move and we could sit.
Slide 14.
Okay. And I think we can take a sec, and I guess as the commissioner, because I was there, I could second. Any further discussion on this? It's a pretty quick meeting, so I'll call question. All those in favor for approval signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. Motion passes, minutes passed. The next section here is I'll turn it over to Armin for the financial report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me, Tony?
Yes, Armin, thank you. I can.
Before we jump into the numbers, we had another record year. If you look at the financials, you can tell that. This year so far, we are on track to even beat that. So I'll jump into the numbers, but everything's pretty consistent other than a few things, couple things, and we'll go from there. If I could ever, everybody turn to page 2 of the actual financials. Statement of net position. And we'll continue before everybody wakes up. Starting at the top, we have current assets of $13,630,000. This is roughly 3.271 million higher than last year. This was because of our July 14th meeting. We did not approve the third quarter financials because of me, but we did not approve them. So we have actually 2 quarters worth of transfers that have not been sent over. So our cash was up by 4 million. And yeah, that's about it there. Non-current assets going down a little bit. We have non-current assets of 30 million. These have increased by 844,000 between this year and last year. One of the reasons is we bought 3 new vehicles the year before, and increase into our intangible assets. GASB 87 requires us to now report present value of leases that we have on the books. They're operating leases, just expenses. They're not capital leases where we are eventually going to own it. But we are required to report that now. A little further down, middle, current liabilities. We have current liabilities of 13,967,000. This is increased by 3,465,000. And this is again due to our lease payable that we now have to report, and our transfer obligations, which we have 2 quarters. A little further down, non-current liabilities of 4,056,000 is approximately 807,000 higher than last year. Most of this is again increased due to the GASB that we have to report our leases on, in our pension liability, which went up. Lease liability increased by $399,000. Net pension liability decreased by $434,000, but increased by $434,000. And that's just due to a Department of Administration does a calculation on our behalf, puts it on our books. We check it, make sure, a reality check. But they calculate it, put it on our books, and that's what we have to report. All the increases and decreases in total assets and deferred outflow. Roughly 16.3 million. Up a little bit. Roughly 3.9 million higher than last year. All right, moving on to the next page. Page 3, statement of revenue, expenses, and changes in net position. For the year ended 6/23. We had operating revenue of $147,849,000. This is an increase of $31,796,000, or 27.4% increase. To go in detail, Powerball increased 48.1%. Montana Cash 58.7%. Montana Millionaire, because we added tickets, went up by 12%. Mega Millions 131.5% compared to last year. Treasure Play 3.2%. Lucky for Life 3.6%. Lotto America with the added draw 36.8%. Sports Bet 30.8% increase. On the flip side, not very, small numbers. Scratch revenue decreased by 0.3%. Big Sky Bonus decreased by 1.4%. So we had a really good year. Going down a little further, direct game costs, which are in direct relation to a 27% increase in revenue. These increased by 23,782,000, 25.8%. The increase in operating revenues, direct costs, resulted in net operating revenue of 29,713,000, which is 8,014,000 higher than last year. Big section down below, operating expenses, 4.9 million. These increased by 124,000. Not a big deal. 2.6% increase. A lot of variances, increases, decreases, but the bigger ones would be personal services, advertising and production, and communication expenses. Personnel services, which would be our wages, benefits, increased by 224,000. Just normal increases in pay, filled positions, and just normal increases in benefits and pensions. Advertising production increased only 30,000, but again, this is due to needed advertising, promotions, jackpot runs, stuff like that. Communications expense went up 81,000, and this is primarily due to UPS. Rates that we pay for UPS now are sky high. And then the little section at the bottom, non-operating expenses, revenue expenses, they decreased by 72,000. Mostly due to our pension and our OPEB. Jana, OPEB is other personnel obligation. Post-employment benefits. So it's retired people, insurance, stuff like So that's calculated by B of A. You don't have a say in it. It just shows up on our balance sheet that way, or our income statement that way. Deal with. Combination of 25.2% increase in operating revenue and 2.6 increase in operating expenses resulted in a quarterly transfer of $4,559,000. $4,559,000, which is $281,000 lower than last year's fourth quarter. Looking at the bottom line, the percent of transfer to revenue is 16.7% this year versus 14.5% last year. Did great. Any questions so far? Have you turned to page 4? This is just budget to actual. As you can see, we did great. Total revenue is 127.66% of budget. Total direct game costs, same thing, 127.6%. Operating expenses are at 96.28%. See? And bottom line, we hit 136.14% of what we budgeted. Yeah. Questions on that? All right, last page, page 5. This is just Jana. This is just a schedule of income, expenses, net profit by game. You can allocate it a million different ways, but this is based on percentage of what people work on each game. So that's how a lot of this is allocated. Some of it's direct, like advertising, it's fixed guy bonus directly. Scratch was at 11.57% net profit. Last year was at 10.43. Powerball's at 39% even. Last year was 35.25. Montana Cash 26.56%. Last year was at 29.31. Montana Millionaire 44.42% versus 25.68% last year, and that's because we had an unclaimed prize of $1 million. Nobody claimed it. So that's an expense we don't have. So that's why the percentage won't pay up. Mega Millions, pretty much same, 36.74 versus 37.68 last year. Treasure Play, dead even, 12.26 this year, 12.31 last year. Lucky for Life, 32.53 versus 27.91 last year. Big Sky Bonus, 12.03 versus 14.42 last year. Lotto America, dead even, 34.42. This last year was 34.48. And Sports Bet, even again, 5.52 and 5.98 last year. We've got a set of financials, 29 pages of our notes. Any questions?
Commissioner.
Yeah.
That unclaimed millionaire ticket, is the period to claim that over? So that's just reverted back to the general lottery fund? How does that How does that work? Just
It's an expense that we accrued and then reversed because it didn't happen. Yes, as of June 30th, that didn't go claim.
Right, so claim,
So we added millions to our bottom line.
I guess. For us,
it's
not
today.
We don't know. Well, no, but what one?
Just-
Yeah, what was,
We didn't view.
Was that the one that went unplanned?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was the town pump and views where it was sold and we waited for the winner. We gave it 186 days since we did all our tickets and it was not unplanned.
We still
We
have,
tried desperately to find them. We did a lot of advertising and talked to the news organization down there even and did put out a lot of press and information to try and draw some attention to it and still the prize when.
Big Christmas party this year. For the water fish.
For the general
The
fund.
general fund.
Yeah. Wow. You'd think that he'd be able to know with the cameras and stuff, because can't you tell when somebody bought a ticket?
They can.
Count to the millisecond.
What's that? Right,
Our
that's what I'm
system
saying,
knows
you know,
You
who
can see a
hits it.
picture of them, but you don't know who it. It could be somebody that passed away.
Somebody just
Lost
dropped
the
it.
ticket.
Lost it.
Could be somebody
yeah,
lost
some truck
it.
driver that stuck it in his visor and. drove
Because I've
off.
heard people talk about, I've heard names thrown around of who this might be and stuff like that, for people were, somebody lost a ticket, somebody did this, but. That's almost like, but you wouldn't want to necessarily do that to somebody from a privacy standpoint. Can you like put it like, you know, like if they're looking for somebody who robbed somebody's house, they put the guy's picture on the news or something and say, you know, we're looking for this person.
Right.
And they're throwing up on Facebook, somebody probably be able to.
Director of Security is shaking his head.
Can't do that.
We don't own the bill,
Right,
so it's.
yeah, it's not like you're long.
It would be on the town pump and we wouldn't want to be part of that.
Yeah, I don't think so either. That's odd. That's too bad.
Yeah, it's true.
One question I had, Armin,
Mhm.
on some of the expense reductions, even to budget, there was a couple of them that were pretty. You know, significant, like down. Like supplies and materials, is that a timing thing or is that an allocation thing, like? Even the budget with some of these, like the audit fees, I'm assuming there's just different audits every year, like you do security, you didn't have a security audit, but on that supplies and materials. Was that pre-purchased stuff from the year before or was that?
Exactly.
Okay,
Security had bought the boxes, bags, and what they were, but it was expensive. And as far as like audit, that's lights out, house bill too. So if they use it, you use it, if you don't, it.
Commissioners, just so you know, that's reference to shipping items that we use. We started to buy in larger bulk. And what we did was, for our bags that we shipped the tickets out to go all over the state, we ended up buying a significant amount. And the only way that we would have a cost saving is by buying in bulk. So that's what we did. It'll last us a couple of years.
any other questions? for Armin? Commissioner Harbaugh online, do you have any questions for Armin on this financial report?
No, I think everything looks good. Thank you.
Yeah, it's like a heck of a year here. With a lot of different stuff went our way, it looks like. So between the jackpots and the millionaire itself was up really well before even the, you know, and all the different, and I think scratch holding its own even after COVID was that's pretty cool too. So yeah, great work, everybody. Good report. I would entertain a motion to approve the financials. June 30th, 2023. Okay, thanks, Commissioner Metropolis. Okay, Commissioner Taylor. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, hearing no opposed, financial report is approved. For the fiscal or for the fiscal year of 2023. Thanks, Armin. looks like up next, we have an IT report from Director Charpentier.
Morning, everybody. Philip Charpentier, IT Services Director for the record. Since the last commission meeting, first I want to apologize for missing the last commission meeting in June. I did attend the Nashville Directors Meeting in Scott's stead in New Orleans in June. It's hot, it was damn. But I do appreciate the opportunity to attend. Thank you, Scott. I visited with all the other lotteries. I visited with all of the other lottery vendors as well. And I also took the opportunity to meet with our current lottery operating system vendor, Intralot, Ben behind me, their corporate senior staff to discuss Montana Lottery IT's priorities and to escalate current issues at the time. Current issues at the time is a good segue into my next topic. During the last meeting, I had Cassie Kulchin, our quality assurance analyst supervisor, report on a pilot program that we had just deployed into the field. We had updated the sports betting kiosk UI UX, which is user interface, user experience. We did that in 10 locations throughout the state. So after that 3-week pilot program was completed, and for all intents and purposes successful, we then deployed and updated all of the sports betting kiosks in the field. Soon after deployment, we discovered several significant issues with that updated software. So we, when I say we, Intralot and the lottery, together, we have been busy identifying, researching, escalating, and resolving those issues. The biggest issue being what we refer to as lost funds. And so what are lost funds? Lost funds are tickets that a player requests on the kiosk. The credit balance goes down, but no ticket prints. So that is a lost fund. The second type of lost fund is a player takes their winning ticket and attempts to cash it for a cash receipt. And they validate the ticket on the kiosk and nothing prints out. So they attempt to validate a second time, previously paid. That is considered a lost fund. And the third lost fund is a credit balance. They've stuck a couple $100 in the machine. Credit balance is present on the machine. They go to do something, terminal's frozen, screen is frozen, or it's white, or it's gray. And they're forced to reboot the terminal. And so the clerk comes over and reboots the terminal. All of a sudden, the money is gone, the balance is gone. So that's the third type of lost fund. So these issues can occur at any time. In fact, and they all require attention. Prior to the new UI UX, we encountered maybe 1 to 2 a week, maybe none or multiple weeks. And each and every time those issues occurred, they were investigated and mostly attributed to a hardware failure. A printer fails to print, or a network issue, network outage at that location, or maybe just what we refer to as a network burp at the moment. Easy to see, easy to spot, easy to resolve, to make the player whole and to make the sales agent whole. And that was prior to the deployment of UI UX. Once we deployed the UI UX to all terminals in the field, we have since encountered 200+ cases of lost funds in the past 3 months. And so we can't change the past. However, we can ensure every single case is thoroughly investigated. Players are made whole and our partner sales agents are made whole for each lost fund case. So this is an ongoing effort, and we will continue to identify and resolve each unique item, each unique issue discovered on the new UI UX. It's like an onion. When it first started, we identified one of the major issues and resolved the bulk of the lost fund cases. And then it allowed us to uncover another issue, and we resolved that one, peeling back the layers to now just a few outstanding issues that remain in the field, which Intralot is addressing. So it is a process. I'll report on our progress at the next commission meeting as well. Hopefully to say all of the outstanding issues have been resolved, and absolutely to say that every single player and retailer has been made whole for those lost fund cases. As I said earlier, we know when transactions are sold to the millisecond. So we have a lot of records and logs to be able to distinguish these lost funds, identify them, and make those retailers whole, make the sales agents whole for lost funds.
Do you see any instances where people say that they lost?
So this is a challenge.
But you can, gaming machines, you go in and look at the record, weekend. But you guys log that, right? Every transaction, and you don't lose that. You see it, so you can track it.
We do. We encourage players to report issues as quickly as possible if they want a full examination of all the logs, because some of the logs only exist on the terminals for 2 to 3 weeks. However, the back end has logs forever, since the beginning of time. And yes, it is a challenge to distinguish a legitimate lost fund case and maybe a player's attempting to take advantage. You can't blame them. But I do. So we have to question each case, which is why we take every single case seriously and we log every case. We have a.
Well, what do you do about that? Say the vendor. The guy says, look, I had this machine. It didn't print my ticket, didn't do this. The retailer pays it. And it turns out it was fraudulent. How do you resolve that?
So. Not sure. What we've been doing is we've been looking at them. I will say that what you just described, Steve, has happened maybe once or twice. We made the retailer whole on that. As far as that goes, we've issued it back to them. Intralot, to their credit, is also stepping up on that and taking some responsibility financially for those kind of errors as we go through. For the most part, the majority of the retailers are saying to the player, okay, this is going to be a lottery issue at this point. They refer it to us. The retailer is not paying out on it, and we'll resolve it here. So we're doing the majority of the work here.
Exactly. Yeah. So if the player reports directly to us, yes, we will make the player whole, or we will have security tell the player our logs show that yes, you did get the receipt. We're sorry if you lost it, or whatever the case may be. So we'll explain to them that all of our information is accurate and sorry. However, if an agent has paid the player already, we always make the agent whole, and the lottery and Intralot work that out. Yeah. As I said, I will report on this next commission meeting as well, and I hope to say everything's fixed and all their agents and players have been made whole during the next meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I have a couple of questions. So we've been aware of this since June, is that what you said?
Yes.
And so we've had a few months to work on it. How far have we got it under control? Are we just back to a trickle of problems, or?
Yes, I would confidently say that the bulk of the issues were resolved quickly with that first fix. And then we peeled back the onion and we were able to see the other issues. Now we're down to 2 outstanding issues that we're waiting on releases for. And these releases, we have to be cautious. We have to test thoroughly because we don't want to reintroduce or introduce new problems when we do these. So it's a controlled fashion. So I would say, yes, we're down to the 2 few remaining outstanding issues for lost funds. And player reimbursement, I wanted to wait until everything was captured so that I won't confuse or upset retailer agents by trickling in adjustments. I want to be able to say you had a problem on this day, on this day, on this day. By the way, we're reimbursing you. Here is your credit. So nobody will complain about getting money back or having to pay less money, for sure.
Follow-up question. How many, what's the number then? Like right now, is it like 1 a week, 2 a month?
I think over the weekend, I mean, you can imagine this weekend was the start of football. So sales were tremendous and activity was tremendous. And I think it was under a half dozen for that time frame, which is not a lot for the amount of sales we had for that weekend.
We did 1.5 million over that period.
But we're not down back to the 1 to 2 a week. We're getting there.
Was the players pretty upset when it's happening, or when you're dealing with them? Is it people happy? Well,
It's a mix.
yeah.
Just as an example, we actually had one here at the lottery. Armin came in the morning and found a ticket on the floor out here. And it was a lost funds, where the tickets printed out much later. Actually at 3 o'clock in the morning. Nobody's here. We watched it on the camera print out. But the player didn't even come to us to say, hey, I lost $100 in the machine. We've had to track the guy down. Like, hey, we got an extra $100 a year, that kind of stuff.
That was a little different. He inserted 400. He purchased $300 worth of tickets, walked away from the machine with $100 credit on the machine.
Yeah.
The next morning, the terminal reboots and automatically prints out a cash receipt if there's a balance. So he's talking about the $100 cash receipt balance. Normally at a bar, you would take that to the clerk and say, please. So it wasn't even a lost funds case. It was a case of a player walking away. I want to hang out with that guy.
So we have that whole, and then you have the other ones that are real.
Yeah.
So you have the whole spectrum.
And you've got the vendor, the retailers, they're probably dealing with the brunt of the immediate frustration.
And yes.
They are.
Diplomatic.
They are.
It happens. I mean, those machines go down for unknown reasons. I mean, just like they're blank, locked up.
Forced to read.
Well,
That's one thing that
and a lot of times the reboot doesn't work. You gotta get a tech up there, which, shut down for quite a while.
That's one thing that happens when you're walking up to the machine, but it's another thing, and that timing issue that you're talking about, you throw a couple $100 in there, and then all of a sudden it goes down and then it pops back up and there's nothing there. Yeah, I could see that being fun for everybody to do. Okay. But yeah, well, I look forward to hearing, we're, December, how this is moving along. Sounds, the whole thing from a technology standpoint just sounds really complicated to me. With I look at that, I'm up at Georgetown and there's one of the 7 gables, and there's, just kind of the pretty remote areas. Although we have decent internet up there, it just seems like that type of issue would be there's 100 things that could be going wrong. Trying to figure out whether it's inside that establishment, whether it's a connectivity issue, whether it's a hardware issue. I mean, it's gotta be kind of maddening, yeah.
And it is a big lift for Ben and his crew to ensure those terminals keep working.
Yeah.
That's not all I have to report.
Okay.
I have quite a few pages today. This past quarter, the IT department, along with the marketing department, have also been working on a design and functional specification for an upcoming project dealing with our large Dream Touch kiosks. These are the black kiosks found in grocery stores that dispense scratch tickets as well as lotto tickets. These specifications will allow us to act fast after your approval and blessing of Speed Play. That product line, it will be addressed in the marketing section of the meeting. I won't go into details about Speed Play. Rather, I'll let Ann and Chase Beasley, our online creative services manager, discuss that product line during their section. But the IT department is ready to react. During the past quarter, we also tested and deployed a handful of maintenance items. Of significance is an update to the W2G reporting of sports bet winners. We underestimated the amount of high-tier sports betting winning tickets that we would be processing here at the Lottery Claim Center. And last year, we ended up processing one W2G report per 600 plus winner. And some of these winners received dozens of these W2G reports. So that has been addressed, and we have combined those. So the sports betting winners who have won 600 plus in winnings here and claimed it here at the office will only get one W2G report as opposed to 2 dozen. So that was a good fix.
Good for the accountants.
Yeah.
Good with those returns.
What's the number that generates the new
600 plus.
600?
And it's supposed to be cumulative. So if you win, $400 every other week or something like that,
Right,
then you hit that threshold and W2G comes out. So it's equal to.
And the way we had it designed, it was multiples, so it was just too many. It was individuals, not efficient, very inefficient. Yeah, expensive for us as well. So we recently held, the IT and security department also recently held our exit interview with the legislative security audit team members over the summer. They provided their report, and we did request updates to some of the language for clarity's sake in that report. We are awaiting to see if they will act on those recommendations. And of course, for the follow-up committee meeting to discuss those findings with the legislative audit committee. Without getting into the weeds, there were findings, and the IT and security department have already started taking action on those. There'll be more to report afterwards. Looking forward to the next quarter. As I mentioned earlier, and the IT department is standing by to regression test all the new fixes to permanently resolve the sports betting kiosk UI UX issues. We're also doing other stuff. So we currently are testing the upgraded sports betting mobile application UI UX to align that with what the kiosks have. So that is in progress right now. Next quarter, we will also be testing and deploying the updated Montana Millionaire game for the season. It should be noted that every time marketing department makes changes to that game, Intralot must accommodate those changes, number one. The lottery IT department must test those changes to ensure the game sells and plays as expected. So we're going to do some speed tests on those. Also to note, this upcoming quarter, it's time for our semi-annual lottery operating system switchover event. So what does that mean? We run a duplex environment where we have a central system at Intralot's Helena office. And we also have another identical system in Intralot's corporate office in Duluth, Georgia. For our sports betting equipment, we have a central site here in Helena and another in Billings, Montana. So currently we're running out of the Helena office for both those environments. Come October, we're going to be switching those to Duluth as the primary and Helena as the backup, and Billings as the primary, Helena as the backup. So this is not only a muscle requirement, Multi-State Lottery Association, it also just makes common sense. Why have a duplex environment if you're not able to test to make sure the other environment works as the primary? So we do this every 6 months. I'm confident that Intralot will accomplish the switchover without any fanfare. That's early October. We've done it before. And finally, as mentioned earlier, we do anticipate taking part in the Legislative Audit Committee meeting this October. And whatever the findings that are presented, we always appreciate the process, and we learn, we grow stronger, safer, and we are more secure with every IT security audit. So we appreciate that process. We're looking forward to it. That's all I have today. Are there any questions?
Chairman. Phil, on this, creating the tax forms that you're talking. So the numbers are different, like for Shake a Day and sports betting, those are they're the same, $600.
Here at the Claims Center, hard copy tickets, we take every 600 plus win. And we do a couple things. First, we check against unemployment and child support. Then we tax according to the federal requirements. It's actually 5,000 plus automatically is withheld certain values. 600 plus is withheld if you don't have an ID, if you don't have an SSN. So there's different variables there. Yeah, sorry. For sure.
Mr. Chairman, So there's this thing that I thought was very odd. It's $600 on lottery and I think it's $1,200 for VGMs. So I don't know, but that's federal and I don't know why they're treated differently, but they are in terms of for taxing purposes, for reporting purposes.
600 is normal for most business, and private.
Yeah.
Anything over 600 for services, products, stuff like that, they're supposed to get a W-2. And we just happen to lottery, not other gambling, but lottery is subject to that also.
Okay, so we're under the standard rules that the VGM sub.
Yeah, that just seems. I was unaware.
At 600 plus, you're supposed to report as earned income. It doesn't mean we withhold from that 600. It just means at the end of the year.
The feds are gonna find out.
The IRS, yeah.
Right, yeah.
So
You're supposed to report it all.
responsibility.
Yeah.
From the player.
That's why we send the W-2.
But yeah, I mean, there's probably still a lot on the reporting there, because unless you're gonna hit that 600, if you're not showing up on. You know, if you're cashing in $300 winnings.
But like a big hit, like a shake it, they did. For a lottery hit, I mean, when that shake it, it's so there's somebody hits it. They come in and collect, I mean, you take the tax right then and there.
If it's over 5,000.
Right,
Right.
that's what I'm saying, one of the big ones, yeah. Do they still get the W-2?
Yes.
Anything over 600.
Even though the taxes were paid?
Well, if you look at like, recently we had a gal that came in at one Montana cash, 1.2, 1.3. I think we withhold around 24% federal and 6% state. She's gonna have to pay more tax at the end of the year.
She's gonna
be thrown into a higher tax rate.
She's probably gonna end up owing close to another $100,000.
And she may get some of it back. Depends on her.
Well, it depends on how many gambling houses. Yes.
We withhold the tax.
But more than likely, she's gonna end up paying tax. Yeah.
Well, the holding percentages on stuff like this rarely recover.
Chairman, I have a quick question. Does the audit committee give you a preview of the questions that they've asked you?
Yes, in fact, yes. In fact, that's what we reviewed with during our exit interview.
I don't know if that's what she's asking. Could you
No.
clarify?
No, that is what so you've already addressed all of their questions
We are in the process of addressing them in advance of our committee hearing.
in October.
Yes.
That's what I've been thinking.
There's none. It's built, we'll turn it over to, Ben Camersville with Intralot.
Good morning, Chairman Brady.
Briggy, oh, you had it.
Brady, okay.
Yep.
Members of the commission. I'm gonna be pretty brief today, not a lot since the last meeting. Staffing, we have 2 engineers dedicated to Montana that are working on website backlog items. That's a new item. We're gonna have a release here soon, I think, to cover 4 items that they're presently working on. That's all I have on staffing. Supply chain. The parts acquisition and vehicle procurement has reached what I would call a new norm. So lead times are now acceptable and vehicles are being delivered. Just so for those that don't know, we've had 2 service vans ordered for almost it's running up on 2 years. And those are actually delivered and being retrofitted at the present time. So that's good. Parts are coming in pretty much normally. It doesn't seem like manufacturers are keeping as much in stock, but the lead times are acceptable for delivery for what they're ordering, unlike 18 months ago, 12 months ago. Couple projects that we're working on, facilities. Bill mentioned switchover. So our present data center that we're running both, as Phil said, production for sports betting and lottery. We're installing 2 new AC units presently in there. Doesn't mean that they're not working right now. Everything is operating as normal, but they just needed to be replaced through attrition. That's a big project. And then we're presently undergoing, as I reported last meeting, our biannual SOC 1 audit. And I think we're going to complete this in mid-October. This is a voluntary audit, not required by Muscle or the lottery, but we do report the findings to the lottery, the culmination of it. So that will be coming, the findings to the lottery, hopefully by the end of October. And that's really all I have, and I have some terminal numbers. So sports betting, so the network right now is 501 active kiosks and 130 duo TVs. So those are the TVs that complement the terminal. It's separate content. That's what's in the field right now. Treasure Play, we have 373 active kiosks. These are the, call it the fast player, whatever that's been talked here about. Shake a Day and so forth. Those are the games that are on those terminals. And then we have Dream Touch, and that's one Phil referred to with the, it's going to have a redesign. There's 49 of those wind stations. There's 55 of those. Those are another refrigerator type terminal that is mainly deployed in stores, grocery stores. And then photons and printers and Geneons, we have 615 of those. Those are the behind the counter terminals where you go up and buy a ticket and so forth. And then I just report to you that the present stock of terminals that we have, this is warehouse stock and also depots in our field. We have sports terminals, 74, duo TVs, 137, Treasure Play, 24, Dream Touch, 7, Wind Station, 1, and then photons, printers and Geneons, we have 152. So we have, as a summary, we have a total of 1,723 active devices in the field at this time. And be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Good, you guys good? All right,
Thank you.
thanks, Ben. Appreciate it. Okay, moving along here. It's like we're going on to Ann Sharpent here, Director of Marketing and Sales.
Commissioners. Thank you. So we'll go through and talk a little bit about all the products and how things are going, which is not too shabby, actually. Let's start with a fiscal year 24 sales performance overview. Of course, at any point in time you have any questions, please feel free to interrupt me and we'll ask questions that you have. As Armin mentioned, we ended fiscal year 23 with a record year. The celebration, of course, is brief because we immediately set our sights on fiscal year 24 and the work that we have to do to make our goals for the next 12 months. The first 10 weeks of this year have been busy and challenging, but we have set our sights up and set ourselves up well for a good year. And here's what we know so far. Starting with Powerball, we came into the fiscal year with $1 billion jackpot. And what can be a better way than just to start our year off than with $1 billion jackpot, but actually it has $2 billion jackpot because we had a second one with Mega Millions that started us out pretty well. $1.58 billion jackpot with Mega Millions as well in early August. So to have two in the beginning of this fiscal was pretty darn good. Moving down the chart, the negative percentage games you can see for Lotto America and Montana Cash are based on large jackpots that were in fiscal year 23. And that's what we're up against there. And they're obviously reflected in those negative percentages. But we know that the potential is there for us to make up those differences as we progress further into the year. And we'll talk about Treasure Play, Scratch, and Sports Bet Montana specifically in a couple of slides. So I'll save those for now. And then there is Montana Millionaire that we will start sales on in November 1st. Very excited for our raffle game to start, and as many others are as well. We just to remind everybody, that game will start November 1st with 380,000 tickets, and we will have $3 million prizes this year. This is the first time we're offering the $3 million prizes. So it'll be very exciting to see how quickly our game sells out this year. Last year, as a reminder, it did sell out in 29 hours. So we'll see what an additional 100,000 tickets do to extend that game. So far, we are 1.6% ahead of last year for the same time period, 10 weeks into the fiscal year. So this chart is focusing on just treasure play sales through week 10. The treasure play chart depicting the sales by week are driven primarily by progressive game jackpots in our bars and casinos. That impressive red bar in week 10 was the result of a record jackpot for our $10 loaded progressive game, which had a jackpot hit of $113,000 in Laurel, Montana. So as for week 10, for all of our treasure play games, we are averaging $288,000 in weekly sales. And we are up about 30.5% from the same time last year. So doing very well with our treasure play games so far this year. And now to just go into our scratch product update. And that's a picture of our store in at Warden. The thing is covering the name of the store. But that's Warden's Market in Missoula. They have a very unique scratch display that they've created all on their own. We have had a phenomenal summer with our scratch products. Chevy led the way with remarkable pack activations and a steady performance for the first 10 weeks of the fiscal year. The chart compared the first 10 weeks of the last 3 fiscal year scratch performance. And although there is just a slight decrease in sales as compared to the same time frame last year, we know with the start of the holiday games in October, we will make up for that minor difference and see an increase as we move more into the fiscal year. Total sales as of week 10 are just over $4.5 million with an average weekly pack activation of just over 441,000. And I can't believe I'm talking about holiday games already, but yes, we are. We start our holiday games. We have 4 holiday games that we're starting in the beginning, first week of October. They start to go out to our retailers. And we start them in October every year. We don't actually see them in dispensers usually until around November timeframe. They are very popular and they are a big seller for us in the holiday time period. And we do have an advertising campaign that we will be doing to promote our holiday games and holiday giving as part of our holiday giving campaign that we do every year. And I want to briefly speak to our Chevy game and wrap up what has turned out to be our most successful summer featured scratch game to date. As a reminder, our Chevy Silverado ticket had a top prize of a Chevy Silverado and also a top cash prize of $75,000. We always hope that our top merchandise prize doesn't get hit too early in the game to help drive some sales throughout the summer. But this time the truck prize was hit early in our to a lucky winner in Bozeman. We were obviously concerned that this might cause us to have some slowing of the activations of the game once the word got out that the truck had been hit, but that did not deter our players and our sales agents. The activations for the game continued to be strong all the way through the summer, and people were still going for that $75,000 top prize, which is great to see. And we saw really strong activation still to this day. We're still seeing it, the game still perform really well. And we are, so the $75,000 top prize is still out there. And we are actually out of the game in our warehouse. We're completely sold out. And so all the packs are in at retail. And we're waiting to see who will win our $75,000 top prize. The winner has claimed the truck and found the truck in Bozeman. And that is a picture of him right there with his truck. And this game performed better than any of our past featured summer games, as mentioned, even those featuring similar prizes like a truck or a side-by-side. We're very pleased with the performance of the game, the advertising campaign that accompanied the ticket, and exceptional pivoting of messaging that the staff in our ad agency had to do mid-campaign to accommodate the truck being hit early on. Was much appreciated. All of the work resulted in the early sellout that I just mentioned. Yes.
So on the cash prize, are you guys, like Phil saying, you guys know within a nanosecond when stuff is actually purchased? I guess you wouldn't know when that winning ticket was purchased, so you don't. But if somebody doesn't claim it, they're doing the lottery a favor by sitting on that thing until the game sells out.
Yeah, I mean,
And you're under no obligation. Once somebody claims it, you've got it. We're under an obligation to.
Oh, yeah, it's
known.
It's known.
Yeah. That's interesting how that.
But we have no idea if the ticket's been sold.
Right.
Yeah.
But do you know that it's still out there?
We know it hasn't been claimed.
You know, it has.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So you don't.
It could be sold and sitting in somebody's wallet or advisor on the.
With somebody viewed.
We don't have any.
Sure, but it still could be at a retail.
However,
It could still be out there.
we do have a report that will show whether it's been scanned for a file claim at lottery. So the minute a person scans it to file claim at lottery, it's not cashed. However, we do have a record of that. So
But that hasn't happened.
That the ticket's been sold.
No, it's not sold. I'm talking about cash. So if I have it, yay, I go to a bar and I scan it under a treasure play, it'll say file claim at lottery, then I know that he's done that. That hasn't occurred yet.
It's out there somewhere, and it's, so the game is still definitely viable and by a pretty nice Chevy truck for
How long
$7.
does the game run? Just how the tickets are.
Until we decide to end the game, and usually we'll establish that end date at some point here soon, and Jay and his team will look at that, look at sales, look at when the game starts to not perform well. This is the 16-week early sellout was much earlier than we anticipated, so it could.
But there could still be tickets that you guys bring back, you end the game, bring it back, you got those surplus tickets, and that ticket could be there, right?
Good.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Could be
Unclaimed.
unclaimed.
It's like the
Goes to the general fund.
it's like those old punch boards they used to put on the bars, they do. And then they change them out.
And then we replace it with a new fresh game that has, more top prizes.
You could stop it now.
That's right.
Big 4 games would be much better, I'm saying.
We did have a 4 game, but you obviously can see that the Chevy game did outperform the 4.
Or
Not by much, not by much, but we're at it. So next I want to bring up Jay Bond, who's going to talk to you about a proposed $30 scratch game. As you know, we have scratch games that go from $1 up to $20 now, and we are proposing a $30 scratch game. I'm going to ask Jay to come on up here and talk about our $30 scratch game.
Good morning, everyone. So Ann kind of broke the ice there on the $30 game. So we're proposing that we launch a $30 price point scratch ticket. And the makeup of this game, we've already got the art done and everything in anticipation of proposing it to the commission, but you can see the artwork there. So there's going to be two $1 million top prizes in the game. Currently, our $20 scratch game has a $500,000 top prize, so this is a big step up. There's 3 instant win bonus games that kind of go across the top there. We have 2 scenes, pulses, what we call them. So if this game is approved, we would print 180,000 tickets, and 90,000 would be gold scene, 90,000 would be the platinum scene. We've increased the ticket size by an inch compared to our $20 game. Those are 4 by 10s. This will be a 4 by 11 inch ticket. And there's a special print feature on here. It's print vendor. It's called Sparkle. Quite a bit in the past. It's got a real dazzle, shimmery effect tickets. It's probably not, it's kind of hard to see on the screen there, but it's like it's around the top prize, bonus games, down in the play area. So if it's approved, it should be a super nice looking ticket. Yeah, you can move the other slide.
Sorry.
So just a little bit of background on this game. We're like one of the last states to offer this price point. There's $50 tickets out there. Texas has launched a couple $100 scratch tickets. So I guess you kind of say we're somewhat behind the curve on that, but just waiting for the right time. Our payout is right around the national average, as well as our odds are. So this game would have the best odds of any game we've ever produced. So that's kind of it, I guess, in a nutshell for this. And I know it's an action item to be voted on. So hoping that you guys would approve this for us. It's ready to go if we get the green light. And if we do get it approved, our intention would be to launch it in February. After the Millionaire Rush and all the holiday games up there at the beginning of the year, kick off what for. So.
Any questions or concerns for Jay, for myself on this, as this is an action? Yes, Mr. Costin.
Just curiosity, Jay, is it $1 million winner gold and $1 million winner platinum?
No, well, it's,
or is it crossed? It could be.
It could be anywhere. It's, you know, randomly programmed in the game. The first quarter of the game, the first one, first half. So those 2 prizes are placed in the game by the vendor, totally randomly by computer, as well as $30 free tickets with the 500 spread out in the crowd. But it was a challenge for us to pull this game off. You know, to get the 2 $1 million top prizes in it, and not print a bazillion tickets so it lasts 5 years in the market. So quite a bit on getting the prize structure dialed in to make it a viable game.
Did you have a question?
Yeah, Jay, I think you probably covered this, but is this in addition to the $20 ones or?
Yes.
Replacement, okay.
Yeah, this would make, if it's approved, we would bump our active basins up from 24 to 25. Then, you know, 4 games out there in the market, but typically we have 24 active basins, 24 new games on the market at the time. This would make 25.
Okay, thank you.
So you're gonna print 180,000 of these, right? One kind of millionaire and 380,000. 380,000. You're gonna give $1 million away on these. You don't think that, you know, like there's such a fever for millionaire tickets.
There is.
Sold out in 20 some hours.
Yeah.
Don't you anticipate that if you market this, that that there will be that fever, maybe, I don't know. I mean,
hope so.
It's a really good question. I don't know.
We're gonna market it for sure.
Scratch games perform much differently than our raffle game.
Sure.
Even in this circumstance, I would presume that this would perform much differently. We don't know, how Millionaire will affect this game. It's been brought up, but nothing. We don't really have anything to go by with regard to how it will perform. I mean, it may affect it. It may drive some sales certainly for it. It being a higher price point may, certainly have an effect, and not necessarily for a $20 game, it might. Yeah, it's a question certainly we all have, and it'll be interesting. Certainly.
Took off like.
We'd love to see it, have an effect on it. It's a question that we'll have to keep a close eye on when we do put it out there and see what kind of effect it does have, and talk to players and our sales agents about that and see.
Yeah, because the odds are pretty good in this game.
About twice as good as the. Yeah, you're giving
We get
three.
Yeah,
we're
and it's
giving
a 30,
three.
it's an extra $10 for a chance, 2 millionaires.
Yeah.
Right? It's just. Right, from this one, there's two,
Right.
and then so the extra $10 for the next, for two. It's 20 on three, but there's half the tickets, or a little more than half the tickets sold on this, so that's a pretty interesting proposition to somebody that's a savvy player.
Yeah, we've seen a very steady increase in higher price point ticket sales. 5 up. Tens, they're just hitting it out of the park way more so than, even before COVID, so. Seems like a fairly natural progression. So we're hoping that $1 million top prize is a nice big carrot out there for players.
Mr. Chairman, quick question.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, Jay and Ann, and I know you guys ran this by me, but I've been thinking about this ticket or this item here. And do we know what percentage of scratch tickets are cash versus people paying like with a debit card?
No, we don't know that. And the reason that we don't know, we've asked for data from our sales agents to see if we could procure that information. However, they have not been willing to share it with us, unfortunately.
Mr. Chairman, we'll follow up. And I'm not trying to blindside you guys here because I've had plenty of time to think about this, but it just kind of over the last couple of days, if I look in my wallet and I almost never have a $10 bill in my wallet. I got a lot of 20s and some other stuff. So if our players are mostly cash versus debit, which we don't know, I'm just wondering, just food for thought, would actually a 40, and I know this is really late in the game, but I just want to put a $40 ticket with maybe a third $1 million winner. Would that be better just because it's easier for going to, and you grab 2 20s out of their wallet versus getting change back, or especially if they're buying a ticket like in the in our machines where once you put the money in, you don't get money back. You put 2 20s in, you get your tickets. So did we
well,
and I apologize for not bringing this up earlier, but did we think about that at all?
We did. And what we're hoping is somebody reaches in and gets 2 20s and buys one of these and a 10.
Say it again.
We're hoping that people grab 2 20s and buys one of these and a 10. I mean, so we thought about that, and we had discussions with Scientific Games about this, and they just felt like the 30 was the place to go. And those conversations were brought up at the PDS conference that we went to. And I believe one lottery tried that. They went to a 40 basically for the same reason you're talking about. And it was not successful for some odd reason. So that didn't, dictate why we did this, but.
I know E-Tax ran a lot of $100 bills, so let's just jump right to that.
Yeah, so let's go to the tax.
We have two different.
Idea.
320s, two of them.
That's interesting, okay, any further questions from the commission for Jay before we call for a vote on this in our motion? I also want to talk about public comment too, but I want to see if there's anything else from you guys.
This is be the first one of this size,
Correct.
right, Mr. Chairman? Is that gonna make a difference? I mean, everybody's used to the same size.
Oh, you mean the physical ticket size?
Yeah.
Well, there's Jenna, there's a kind of mindset in the lottery world. It's called perceived value. So like, so we've stepped up the size aggressively from our 5s are 4x8, our 10s are 4x9, our 20s are 4x10, and this will be a 4x11. So, bigger is better.
Size matters, yeah.
Size matters.
Pretty soon you're gonna be walking out of there with like a.
Our $100.
Trying to get it through the door of the grocery store.
Certificate.
Yeah, because this is 8.5 by 11, right?
They actually,
Yeah.
So it's like half.
It is.
Scientific Games actually prints tickets this big. 8.5 by
Yes, they
11.
do. Whole sheet.
Special dispensers and stuff, They get pretty crazy with that. So yeah, you are right.
Yeah, it's gonna be, it'll be interesting. I'd like to hear when, it's gonna be a good debrief if we approve this and see what happens.
Yeah, we'll do a bunch of analysis on it.
Let's open up for public comment. Mike, anybody online, anybody have anything to add on this one?
No current public comment this time.
This time I'd entertain a motion to approve the game.
I'll move to approve the game.
This is Tony, I would second.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor to approve this $30 game signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay, hearing none, the game has been approved.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jay, good work.
Yeah, we're excited about it. I will hit the magic green button, the go button on it. Going on.
I can see him out there.
Now, we'll have Jay just take you through real quick the fiscal year 24 scratch plan as well. He's up here
But you thought you were gonna get rid of it, didn't you?
a little bit.
Yeah, but like that. So, I think you've been handed out the FY 24 anticipated scratch games that are to be produced. This is what we did in for FY 23. So this is just a basic outline of the games by price point with the number of games. You can see in the gray bars, it kind of gives a total of each of the games, the 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, 20, and yay, now a 30. So we're kind of seeking approval that you guys give us approval to move forward with this plan. And if that is done, we'll continue on down the road like we normally do. And if there's any deviation from that plan or any big change, obviously we'd inform the commission and the public to that effect. Total number of games we anticipate printing this year is 44. That is down from FY 23. We were at about 50. That's just because we've done some management to decrease the number of games we're printing, increasing some print runs, trying to minimize the cost increase on our last scratch contract. So we're sticking with that same budget. So had to do some kind of juggling around to get it to fit, so. Yeah, so we're seeking approval on that. I'm happy to answer any questions if anybody has anything. I'm sure this is probably a lot for Commissioner Taylor to take in, but this is kind of what we do every year. But we usually plan out games 6 months in advance or so, and then just, work on those. So.
I have a question which I gather is a year late. I should have asked this a year ago.
That's all right.
Would you explain non-extended and extended for me?
Sure. So like a non-extended game would be like a typical $1 scratch ticket. That's very straightforward, just matching a number to a number. Just very quick to play, nothing complicated game. Well, they're not, any of them are complicated, but compared to like an extended play game would be more like a crossword. Takes longer to play, it's more involved. So that's how we classify games.
Thank you.
Or like we have a Scrabble crossword game out there right now that would be considered as extended play, or a Slingo games. Those are more involved to play, they take more time. Predominantly, most of our games are non-extended play, just key number match or key symbol match, pretty straightforward type of game.
Thanks. Else. Looks like it's pretty similar to what it was last year. Like I said, fewer games.
Yes. We did, part of the adjustment was when we went back and ratcheted down the payout and it's the 20s. So that's included in this plan, payouts lowered on those, so mindful of that.
Any questions or public comment questions from the commission or public comment for approving this slate of games?
No public comment.
Thanks, Mike. Okay, so I do like this, but in the past we used to every time one of these game runs I'd have a kid email us the 60 tickets or the 20 tickets, and we'd have to approve 10 times during the year through email. This is a much better idea. I like that you can see this stuff right up front. And then we still get the emails with the final artwork and stuff, as you'll see those emails through Jay. But I think the first few times you sent me those, I tried to approve them again. But this will let these guys get to work and design these games. And so I call for a question. I call for the Thanks, Commissioner Morris. Second. I'll second. Okay, Commissioner Taylor. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, hearing none, the 2024 slate of scratch games is approved.
Great, thank you. We'll get to work on it.
All right, thanks, Jan.
So our work continues because we are now presenting you with our proposed speed play products. And I'm going to ask Chase Feedley, our online product manager, to come up. Ask him to take us through this proposed product line. So Chase.
So
we got kind of loud for everybody.
oh yeah. Today we're going to propose a new line of products for our convenience stores and grocery stores. This line of product is an instant win lotto game, similar to a scratch ticket, and it prints and you can determine if you won instantly. Different in that it is printed on the spot and it has progressive jackpots that grow with each purchase. There's also a non-progressive variant that's pretty much like a scratch ticket, but printed. We are going to sell this via our self-service terminals and clerk activated terminals if this is approved. And so that would be our big TV screen looking one, and then the clerk activated one requested by the player to the clerk can then print them that ticket and they'll be able to see the jackpots and advertisements for this on our normal lottery screens, just like they would the lotto games. If approved, he would start with 5 new games, would base those on our most successful treasure play structures. There's Shake a Day, Montana Slots, and $10 loaded progressive. All of those are best sellers, so we think they're good starting points for new games. Potential launch date of June 2nd, 2024. We'll also have a new set of game rules that Brian will go over in the security section. In this image actually is the Dream Touch here. If you click on one of the buttons, it'll pull up the game and the jackpot displayed on it will be dynamically updated or automatically updated to the most current jackpot level. Then you can select your purchase, see sample tickets for the game, see the prize legend, and how to play instructions on that page right there. Yep. So these are the 3 new progressive games we are proposing. $3 progressive, daily dice, a $5 pater progressive, and $10 treasure stakes progressive. So we're kind of sticking with old mining themes, Montana themes, daily dice games similar to Shake a Day that's popular in all bars and casinos in Montana. Overall odds, payouts, and starting jackpots are pretty much identical to what we sell currently in our treasure play line products. So nothing out of the ordinary there. And the image here is the dynamic jackpot awareness slide that will be presented on our screens when they're in a sleep mode or screensaver mode, or on our hidden pad where it's on a carousel of slides. And that's what that will look like. And these are 2 non-progressive games that we'd like to also get approved if this product line is approved. Montana Silver here is $5, similar to our Montana Gold game, and $10 Cash Frenzy, which is similar to one of our most popular scratch games and treasure play games, the $1 million blowout or cash blowout game, where it's just loaded with $100 prizes. Very popular game. So yeah, we're excited about this line of products. I think it'll bring a new stream of revenue, and it will also allow people who don't go into bars and casinos the opportunity to play these progressive jackpots and be a part of that fun. Any questions?
So these games are only offered in our convenience store and grocery store locations, only from the Dream Touch terminal and the Photon terminal that our clerk is activated. So this is the only place that they would be available. We wouldn't offer them in our treasure play locations, which is the bars and casinos. Those are treasure play is only for the bars and casinos. These would only be for the grocery store and convenience store locations. So we're branding it just for those particular locations. And giving it a both a progressive game, the 3 progressive games as well as the non-progressive games. And these games are offered across the United States through lottery. They are branded Fast Play and other Easy Play and lots of other different names. And we work with Intralot in defining what kind of designs and things work best. And we just think this is going to be a great move, in offering the progressive jackpot style games and non-progressive style games, especially through the Dream Touch. So offering this as a new product line for your consideration. See, we have some questions too, but.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense of it. It's just a matter of getting those type of games that are on the treasure play right now into different venues.
Essentially, yes. I mean, because they are all over in other, in other states and we're just missing, I think, an opportunity to offer it in other venues, but we don't want to compete with the Treasure Play games. You know, they're operating great at right where they are, and we don't want to, you know, we don't want to move those into the grocery store and convenience stores, but we want to provide a similar product, but something separate from that. And we've come up with Speed Play.
If we want to maintain the uniqueness of the Treasure Play line. So people who buyers and casinos.
Well, at the convenience store, from a playing perspective, I know it's one of the things that you guys probably deal with just on a day-to-day basis when you're going in to just grab something quick and then somebody's buying 50 lottery tickets in front of you. I mean, somebody gonna be sitting there on that photon machine at Morton's, that picture you have, playing this thing or printing out tickets, or, I mean, is it gonna take a long time to play?
Right, they'll be short. We know that the tickets have to be short. We know one of the things we work with our vendor is to understand the dynamic of these games and how they have to be printed and what they have to look like and the shortness of them. I mean, all those things that make them work within the convenience store and grocery store arenas. And so, yes, those things have to be considered, so they're quick and they print, and they're also can be made available very quickly. And so, but in places where they have a lot more people and a lot more, they work great, and they're a revenue stream that we can't ignore. We need to see about implementing this here.
Anything else I know we got some public, I know we're gonna have some public comment on this one, but anything from the commission first?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I think this is crossing the line a little bit, and I'm not gonna support it. The Treasure Play machines were, and there's a reason that they're in bars and the appropriate license establishments, and I don't know, where they came about, but when you get into these progressive games in grocery stores and convenience stores, and you guys know as well as I do that those Shake a Day and those other 3-card poker, when those progressive pots build up, just like you're saying, Mr. Chairman. People are sitting, pulling a bar stool over, and they're sitting there, and they're bundling together, putting money in, and it takes a long time. They're trying those machines up, and I don't think that we want the book club in Albertsons pulling up their shopping carts around one of these kiosks and printing out tickets. I think we crossed the line a little bit here more into the gambling room than the lottery room. So I don't like this proposal.
My question is, can we listen to public comment before?
Yeah, I just want to give you guys the first round, yeah. Okay, let's maybe open it up. It looks like Rhonda Wiggers has her hand raised. Mike, do you want to go ahead and let Rhonda speak on this?
Oh, yes.
There we go.
I think I did hear her.
Rhonda,
Good morning. Can you hear me now?
yep.
Rhonda Wiggers on behalf of the Montana Coin Machine Operators Association. And I guess my ask for you right now would simply be, could we not approve this meeting? And this is the first I've heard of this. I try to keep up on what the lottery's doing ahead of time, but I will admit that I did not know this was coming until I saw the agenda, and I still didn't know what it was on the agenda. I would really feel more comfortable if I could visit with my board of directors rather than just give you my personal opinion. However, I am going to venture into that. I have worked for them for over 20 years and am fairly confident, and do remember that when the Treasure Play machines were put in the bars, we weren't real happy about it because we knew they would do exactly as they do, pull up the stools and play them as though they're a Keno or a video gaming machine. We were promised that was only going in the bars. These were never going to show up in grocery stores or convenience stores, because we understood that Montana put those machines, those video gambling machines, and structured our gambling line in conjunction with our fully licensed locations and the regulation that goes with those fully licensed locations. I would ask, I guess, that you please put this on hold. Do not vote on it this meeting. I will be honest, we are probably going to oppose it, but I would hate to make that opinion at the moment, not knowing all the background, and allow us to learn a little more about it and allow us to visit with my board of directors and our members and our tavern owners, our industry partners who will also be affected at their locations if we start expanding gambling into grocery stores. And I realize we sell lottery tickets there, but that's a little bit different than the Treasure State, the machines, red boxes, where we sit down and put in a lot of money and a toothpick in the thing to make it continue to print out tickets for hours at a time. So I would ask that you please postpone your vote. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Robin. Anybody else in the room have?
Hi, Commissioner, John Iverson, representing the Montana Tavern Association. I also share Rhonda's concern. When we get into progressive games, we're really getting into casino type games. And right now, those games are in bars and casinos. And what we're talking about doing with this presentation is moving them into grocery stores and convenience stores. And I assure you, if you ever watch what we call the red boxes, the lottery has a different term for it, but the red boxes that are in the bars and casinos, when those progressive games get hot, exactly what they're saying happens. People pull up a bar stool and play it like a casino machine because it's playing like a casino machine. And I just don't think the public in Montana wants to see those types of machines when they're picking up a gallon of milk with their kids. So we would oppose these types of games moving into the grocery store and the convenience store.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I have a couple of questions. Chase, right? Okay. Chase, you mentioned that there's a revenue stream on tap.
Yes.
Give us an estimate about how large that stream is.
Well, there's no rigorous method to estimate that, but our initial thoughts are in the first year, maybe $1 million to $2 million in revenue. You know, profit margins will probably be around 15% total, similar to Treasure Play. We think that this is a great opportunity to give this product offering to people who don't go to bars and casinos, that don't want to, you know, take their kids into a casino to buy this type of product. We just want to make it more ubiquitous, something we already do.
I phrase this, I assure you, I'm not trying to cross-examine you, but you said there's no rigorous method. So then what method do you use to estimate that?
We have some research based on 3 other states, New Hampshire, Ohio, and DC, and they have different product mixes on their types of terminals, and you can look at the proportion of sales for progressive games versus lotto games by terminal type in those states. And pretty compelling sales numbers, but their product mix is different. Some states they have Keno, some states they have I forget what the name of these products are called, but you can like interact with them. So they're I forget what the name of those are. I can't remember either. Yeah. But it doesn't directly translate to us. So, and our number of terminals is very small. We only have 50 Dream Touches and 600 Photon terminals. So it's
proportionally, it's a little different.
Yeah.
And our gambling environment is very different as well in comparison to them, you know. So when you're looking at comparing apples to apples, it's, you know, there is no apple that compares to ours.
Very difficult. Yeah.
Very.
Yeah.
So we try to look at what, you know, what potentially we could do in comparison to what they've done, especially in starting out. But when they have no competing gambling within their state, you know, first of all, that makes it very difficult. And when they also have over 5,000 terminals selling the product, it also makes it very difficult. We scale it down It's difficult to really hone in on exactly what we could expect. We do look at our Treasure Play product line as a gauge as well. And where we started, which was back in 2011, with the Treasure Play market as a potentially, where we could start. We did look at that, and that's where Chase and I think the $1 million to $2 million is probably where we would.
We can also look at Dream Touch sales, and in other states, it's from 30 to 70% of their sales went to Progressive games on those terminals, but their product mix again is very different than ours, and ours will be predominantly scratch products, and these will not be on the front page of the screen, so they're a bit tucked away, and that will definitely affect the sales, so making it even more difficult to compare to other states.
So, thank you. I have one other question. It seems like we're thinking about anticipating the market. The market, whatever that is, hasn't come to us and said, please do this, right?
No, I wouldn't say the market has come to us and said, please do this. I don't think they know it exists, but there's been a lot of things we put in front of them they didn't know existed. And they responded well to it. So in the way we market it to them, obviously makes a difference as to, when we introduce it, how we bring it into market, and what we tell it, how we bring it to existence. So, we haven't had people beating down our doors saying, we want this. However, we have had people, say, they know about fast play in other states. And we have had that brought up to us that, oh, there's this fast play product line in Idaho and states that are adjacent to us that have this kind of product available to them in grocery stores and places like that we do not. And we have heard that a little bit, but they haven't been saying to us, oh, you need to have this here.
Okay, I appreciate the information in the same spirit as Commissioner Morris. I'll just say that I wouldn't be able to vote for this today.
So what's the, I saw the potential launch date of if this thing gets approved, to be in June of 2024, is this something that, you want a decision on today, or can we take some time to think of it? Because I could see the value of, from just looking at it from the lottery's perspective and from a sales perspective and from generating money for the state, that this thing would be probably a good thing. It would grow sales. It would do kind of what the lottery wants to do, but from I just think from a personal standpoint, there's something there where just the notion, like, is it going to get to the point where you go to a town pump and they got somebody just on one of these photon machines at all times selling lottery on one lane? I don't know what. Right, I know, you already have that type of situation going on, and you add these other gaming stuff on top of it. It seems like it's almost like you're, I can see that concern. I wouldn't mind a minute to think on it either. So, what do you guys?
Well, we can certainly address these questions. We would be happy to go back and speak to some of the concerns that have been brought up and go to some of the states that, have the progressive jackpots and ask about the exact concerns that have been brought up here about jackpot runs and things like that, and how those are addressed from the actual store level. That has not been brought up as a concern at all. Retailers like having the patrons coming in. Every person that comes in and buys a ticket buys something else. They like the store being busy and people being in their location drives business. That's what they're all about. But that's, we can certainly look into that further and come back with, some more information about what that has meant and how they address that activity.
or how somebody like the large convenience stores may address that. That would be
Of course.
interesting to me. Yeah, to hear.
I mean, you said it earlier, Ann, when you do that, you need to compare, and I'm not sure you're gonna find it. Because a lot of states, lottery is the game.
Yep.
Okay. Many states now have VGMs. VGM video gaming machines, and then they're allowed, a lot of states, they're only like racetracks. Different things. Montana's kind of a unique environment for gaming. So you've got to look at the big picture, you know, and go, okay, we put this in, what's it gonna do to this? Like, what's it gonna do to your red boxes? And it just seems to me that we're opening the door here for something that a lot of us in my industry are never gonna support. You know, it's not anything else, but I think you're gonna get a lot of opposition to this. And I just think we put it to bed right now and kill it.
Mr. Chairman. You cited 3 states, what was it, New Hampshire, DC and Ohio? But those are non-gambling states, aren't they? So it's hard to compare.
Well, yes, I mean, other than the fact that they are selling in convenience store and grocery stores, which we would be, that's what we're proposing to do is.
Right, but they don't have they don't have slot machines in their bars, is what I'm saying.
Correct. As far as like, yes, correct.
Washington DC or Washington State?
DC.
DC.
That's just the whole gaming, it seems like with all the sports betting and everything going on, it's also. Everything is so fluid right now anyways, with all these states and all the different gaming activity that's going on. Yeah, it looks like Rhonda has her hand up again, or is that from before? Rhonda, do you have anything to add?
I apologize for speaking twice, but yes, I do.
Okay. Go ahead.
I think one of the things you need to remember, and I was a little troubled when I heard that there's a revenue stream you're missing. There's also a large number of business people, private business people who have taken out loans, opened businesses, purchased gambling machines, are vending them or have them in their locations, and those machines cost them around $20,000 a piece. There is a huge private investment in a legalized gambling that you legalized in 1985. There are loans and business structures set up. I don't think the state of Montana has a right to every revenue stream in the state of Montana to take it through the lottery. You have to understand that you are going to be, these machines will be directly competing with an investment that private people in the state of Montana have made in their businesses. And I have real concerns about the idea that if it has anything to do with gambling, the lottery is entitled to that revenue stream. We can go that route. Oregon owns the lottery owns the video gambling machines, not private investment. They are leased to the locations through the state of Oregon and their lottery system. So if we're going to go to that point, then the entitlement of the state to have every revenue stream in gambling is a little bit offensive to me, representing the people who have invested in these businesses and employ Montanans and pay taxes. And if you will flip over, I understand the lottery makes money for the state, but I want you to compare that to what gambling control sends to the state in revenue, and think about what you're doing to private businesses. I think this is a long discussion that needs to be had with a lot of different input into it before we rush into this. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. All right, so, at this point, I don't get the sense that there's a big push. Tony, I haven't heard from you. Do you have any comments or thoughts on this? Do you have any, the sense that I'm getting is that, at the very minimum, we should, just hold off on this thing here and get some more, information and feedback from stakeholders, and you know, and maybe revisit this in December, or do we, you know, take a vote on it today? I don't know what.
I would certainly be comfortable with seeking some more input and delaying a vote on it today, if that's the pleasure of the rest of the commission. That being said, I think I'd be comfortable voting on it today, but if delaying it in hopes of getting a little more input, I'm absolutely fine with that.
Okay. Thoughts? Or
I would just like to make a motion that we deny this proposal.
okay. Second. Do we want to you know, wait to hear it you know, in December?
Can we debate that a little bit?
Yeah,
Discuss.
you bet.
If that motion is seconded and made, I'll vote for it. But I'm wondering if we vote for it, it can always come up again anyway, right?
I think once we, I don't know, legally, once we decide against something, I don't think, you know, we would,
Can't be resurfaced.
shouldn't be resurfaced, or, I mean, they could try, but I'm assuming that unless there's, you know.
Mr. Chairman, there's nothing to prevent us from taking another run at it.
Yeah.
But obviously, if the commission's spoken,
Right, it would be in
we're
our
gonna-
best interest to do that.
we're gonna acquiesce to the commission, we can review it.
So I guess the decision is whether or not, you know, just on the face of it, you think it's just a bad idea, or do you want to hear some more information on maybe these guys could try to come up with some more specific sales estimates and ballparks. I know we talked about that being difficult, but you know, seeing what and hearing some of these other concerns and then taking a vote on it in December. Those are the two options.
Well, I'd like to second on my motion. I don't think that the sentiment of the industry folks out there is going to change at all. It make it more adamant. And I think, you know, need to waste a whole lot of time and effort. It's clearly going to be something that is going to be opposed from the other industry partners out there. Say motions.
Good, so it's been moved and seconded. Commissioner Metropolis seconded, Commissioner Morris is. So any further discussion? So the motion on the table is to just, I don't know, Steve, I guess Denise will have your language, but do you mind restating the motion?
Well, my motion is that we vote to oppose this platform moving forward.
Okay.
So how you understand?
Yes. That's what I seconded.
Okay. Any further discussion? Tony, do you have any?
No, I'm comfortable moving to a vote.
Okay, so I guess I'll call the question. All those in favor of you know, moving or you know, opposing that we move forward with speed play, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And I guess I'm just gonna abstain. I don't have a strong opinion on this either way. You guys just wanna have it, so I guess the motion is approved. Okay.
Yeah, move on to motions.
Yeah. Let's see, where are we at on our agenda here? Anything else from Ann?
Yes. We're gonna talk about sports wagering, just give a little update on how things are going there. This is actually a picture of the Ranger Lounge in Sydney, Montana, who's just built out a sports wagering location, and their location up in Sydney. that we visited here not long ago. A look at Sportsbet Montana fiscal year 24 performance, as well as how the book is performing since the project started back in March of 2020. Handle so far for this fiscal year is at $6.5 million with a payout back to bettors of 85% or 5.5 million. So far for fiscal year, the baseball has been the sport with the highest betting, mainly because it has had the most events so far since July, but that will quickly change as football takes a stronger hold of the sporting market. In the column for project to date, basketball clearly has the highest handle as it has the longest season, as well as the largest betting event for us with March Madness. This chart measures the number of new registrations that we have per week. What this also tells us is when new registrations are more and less prevalent. The spikes are Super Bowl, if you're wondering what is bringing on all of those registrations at those particular times. The spikes are, and the valleys are during the time between basically March Madness and when football season begins. And we can use this data to help with determining the best times for recruitment, promotion, and promotions in an effort to work on new sign-up opportunities. Oops. And this is looking at just the week of September 5th to September 11th. As compared to the previous week. And this is a report that we see every week. We look at these numbers amongst many other numbers. This helps provide data on the handle and wagers per mobile device versus machine play. Clearly, the majority of our play is done on the machine. And clearly about 90% is on machine versus 10% being on the mobile device. And a number I would just quickly point out is that Montana players like to play parlay bets, averaging about 30% parlay week over week, both on machine and on the mobile device as well. And this provides a picture of the mobile account activity over a specific date range, clearly from August 29th to September 4th. This data helps us determine what kind of promotions we might offer players to help increase average wager or help draw attention to sporting events that might be lagging in wagering that might be of interest to our account holders. So clearly football bets, they're on account. We can see how many were actually placed, baseball, and what those average bets are, and then down the line to the other popular sporting events. So just to summarize what we're up to in fiscal year 24 right now, we've got obviously a lot of growth with our sports betting revenue, and we're keeping up with the football events that are going on, as well as what is the end of baseball with playoffs coming up, World Series. And then we are in the process of working on a segmentation study. We're working with Ipsos, which is a very prominent research company who is conducting a segmentation study that's being commissioned by Intralot for us. And so we're working with them, and that is in the works right now. We are obviously working on our Montana Millionaire launch on November 1st. We have some product optimization that we're working on with Montana Cash and Mega Millions. We have our holiday scratch campaign, which I mentioned earlier, which Jay took you through on the scratch campaign. And then of course, RFI and RFP for our central gaming system, which we're just in the very early preliminary stages of, and that's just on the horizon here as we go into the winter months. So, and then many other items in the marketing department. Any questions or anything I can answer? Thank you. Of course.
Move my name is.
All right, just real quick, Brian Costigan, Security Director, Montana Lottery. Before we go into a couple of things I have slides on, I wanted to talk about, Armin mentioned UPS expenses. We spend about $250,000 a year in shipping for UPS. We anticipate, based on what we've been reading, those rates are gonna go up almost 6% this year on top of that. We're looking at buying out United States Postal Service for our shipping needs. And we're gonna give that a run at some point. It should be cheaper, but our question is with UPS, we have pretty standard delivery time periods. We can get out to Miles City, all of eastern Montana in 3 days. From the time it leaves here to the time it gets delivered into the store. Most other places in the state, western half, central Montana is 2 days. We're not quite sure where we'll be with post office. So we're gonna probably give that a try sometime here during the next year. We realize that our shipping expenses are eating into our profitability on these deals. So the warehouses, we're gonna try that. We're working with Intralot to get it set up for our shipping regarding that. As far as some staff changes within the lottery itself, as far as administration, Denise has left. She's no longer at the lottery. We now have one other person. We may have another hire coming in there. So what does that mean for you immediately? I'll be doing your travel vouchers and you're getting you guys paid. So I'll work with each of you on that and make sure we can get that taken care of. Takes me a little bit longer than it probably has in the past for you guys, but we'll get it taken care of for you. Phil also mentioned the caching issues. That has been taking up the 2 gentlemen that are working in security. That's been taking up a significant amount of their time conducting research on each of these missing paid vouchers or whatever the issue is, specifically doing the research, working with Intralot and coming up with the research and making sure that the players and the retailers are made whole on that. And then Phil also mentioned our security audit. We have been working together with that, and that is coming to a conclusion here. And we're just waiting on them to do a couple of things. All right, I want to talk next about treasure play games. Well, I want to pull up the.
Oh, can I drive?
Yeah, you can drive. We updated the rules for the treasure play games to correspond with the Montana Code Annotated and Administrative Rules about that. Changing certain language in there, so it's all the way consistent in it. You can see as we go through this here, like we changed retailer to sales agent. Sales agent is the term that's used in the Montana Code Annotated. We want to make sure that we're consistent all the way through. So we've gone through here and made some minor changes as far as doing that and making sure that it corresponds with everything provided to you. Prior to this, there's nothing super in here. I'm looking for an approval for this rule. Keep on going.
This was in our packet too. Did you guys get a check over this? I entertain a motion to approve this. I looked through this morning and just saw just a bunch of kind of language cleaned up, nothing significant.
We did add the rule about the $600 in here, which conforms to everyone's graded role. We added the language in there, so it's just consistent all over.
What's that? I got a little blue.
So these guys read through this. Any public comment on this one?
I'm not seeing any public comment.
Okay, thanks, Mike.
This action item here where it says treasure place speed,
I'm getting to that. I'll talk to that in a minute.
then we just kill that.
Yes, that's what I'm gonna say. We don't have to do that.
Don't have to do that, so this is just, this is a motion just for this.
If we're, right, but I don't want them locked together, which they are on the agenda, so if the motion is to just accept the treasure play language, then. Great.
That's your motion.
These rules are separate from speed play, so this is
I'm
just.
just making sure that,
Yeah, the speed play rules.
yeah, that the treasure play language. Make that.
Okay, so Steve's moved to move the treasure play rules. The changes updated to the language. Got a second.
I'll second.
Okay, this Commissioner Taylor. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, hearing none, these rules are approved. Okay. That's right.
To cover Commissioner Morris's. We'll just skip the next slide for speed play and make sure I get that on the record.
Just erase that.
Okay, I want to talk about commission meeting changes, and basically what this has to do with is increasing public access to the meetings here. Traditionally, we've taken minutes and we posted the minutes. We record every one of these things. And there is a Montana code which specifically deals with how that the recording can act as the permanent record of this meeting. So that's what we're gonna probably, I would like to start to do with this meeting and have that. It'll be posted on our website, and then it's a link to a YouTube channel that has the meeting, and it'll have a copy of the agenda with timestamps on it for the different agenda items, and it will serve as the record of this meeting. Hopefully you guys. And then it's 2-3-212 in the MCA that allows us to do this. We went through the MCA, figured out what it required us to do to have this, and that's where we'd like to do that with your guys' approval here. We already have a YouTube channel for the lottery. It already exists. We already posted stuff out there. We'd like to continue to do that.
There still be a written minutes, or would
It would be part of the, it's an abbreviated one. It's not as detailed as when DB was doing.
okay. So we would approve the video, or just go through and approve the minutes still. For our next meeting, how does that?
Let me ask, and I will get back to you with that. As far as I know, since it's already exists, it serves as the official record.
As there probably, I don't know if it would pick up everything, but there's probably like dictation too, right? That you could use to probably create some kind of
Oh, yeah.
narrative. Unless it's, I guess it might be difficult to pick up the speaker and that sort of thing.
Right, it all comes across as Phil Charpentier.
Phil's
the greatest
said a lot, yeah.
He's the best ventriloquist that we've ever had.
What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I have a couple questions. One is, the state's retention of records, will that policy apply to this?
Yes.
And so how long would this have to be available?
We're gonna keep it up there as long as we can, even after the retention, if possible.
So it's years, and not 2
Yeah,
years or?
it's actually, I think it's 7.
And the other one is, could the agenda that would be posted reflect the outcome on action
Yes.
items?
That's part of the requirement of the MCA. So if there's a vote, we have to make a notation of that within them, so.
Final question. Then on the agenda, could there be, I think it's called hot links, that might be a kind of hot dog, but I think it's an internet term too. So you can just go to that and then.
Timestamp, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you would see like a little side menu that you could click to a certain decision or a certain report.
And you vote straight.
Yep.
This is, actually the legislature is using this a fair amount now.
Yeah.
And then most of the other boards and commissions are doing this, if you look out in the state government, so.
You did a motion for this?
I would like you guys to approve this, if you could.
Good. Second, Commissioner Morris, thank you. Tony, you have any problems with this or any thoughts or ready to vote?
Prepared to vote. Thank you.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay. That works.
That's it for me.
Okay, sweet. Director of Sales, can we take 5 minutes?
Absolutely.
Or how long do you think we got on the rest of this agenda?
It's gonna be short.
Okay, let's do it then.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, I don't have hardly anything to add. I think we've had very thorough presentations from the other directors and managers today, and only thing I would say is we've had to be redundant, but I think it's worth mentioning, we've had tremendous results here over the last couple of years. We've had 2 record years back to back. And it reflects the hard work that goes on down here, good decision making. I think the lottery's done some things to become more streamlined and more profitable. And we've had a fair amount of good luck too. So which isn't within our control, but we've had tremendous jackpots, and lottery's jackpot driven. Just one caveat that I will say, corresponding to the numbers, is that even though we are tracking a little bit ahead of a previous record year, there was a couple things that happened during the course of that previous fiscal year that I doubt we can duplicate, which would be, $1 million unclaimed prize. And the fact that we had a clawback from Intralot corresponding to sports gambling that amounted to, I want to say, around $1.25 million or $1.5 million that added to the bottom line every single month. That's expired. It's been paid in full. So, it's going to be extremely difficult to duplicate the transfer that we had last year. It's not going to be for lack of trying, and I just wanted to kind of front load everybody that that $24 million transfer was exceptional. In addition to that, one thing that Armin didn't mention, and I think it happened after our last commission meeting, was that we did have our fiscal audit for the previous fiscal year. And there was no findings of or suggestions going forward. So it was outstanding. We presented our results to the audit committee in June, and there was nothing to see there, which is exactly what you want to get. And usually on those fiscal audits, there's 1 or 2 little gotchas, but there was absolutely none. So we had a perfectly clean one. And what I would mention regarding the just to be completely transparent on our meetings with the auditors on our security audit, if you were to read it, it was a little just the tone wasn't as good as I would have liked. And so, like Mr. Charpentier indicated, we did talk to the auditors about changing the tone, not the findings, because we weren't in disagreement with what they found, just with how they presented it. We didn't think it was entirely fair. So we're hoping that when they meet with us prior to that October meeting, that there might be some movement on that. But I just wanted to kind of front load you on that as well. So the only other thing that I have is we did make a amendment 7 and it's in your packet, to the Intralot contract. And basically, just to summarize what that was about, was there were some provisions that we agreed to with Interlot in Amendment 6 that it became abundantly clear that they weren't going to be able to deliver on. And in an effort, and we've had, as the IT director indicated, we've had some issues with this latest rollout on the user interface. So it was our decision that we would strike a couple provisions in Article or Amendment 6 just to streamline it, make it more attainable, and that we didn't introduce, potentially more challenges to the lottery as we go forward in the RFP that is pending really over the next few months. Plan is to go out for an RFI, I believe, by the end of the year, and then to go out for an official, request for proposal sometime toward the end of the spring of calendar year 2024. So Interlot signed off on that amendment. Those amendment changes, I've agreed to it. We've had our legal counsel agree to it as well. We'd like to do a blessing on that as well. We would appreciate that.
I didn't see anything too controversial in this.
Well, I guess I have one question. Section 4 or paragraph 4 of the 7th Amendment refers to all AI formatted assets.
This is a form of media. It's a file type, Adobe Illustrator. It's not AI.
Artificial intelligence. Yes, okay.
Yeah,
Adobe Illustrator.
Adobe Illustrator. You're not the first person to ask that, by the way.
Good catch.
Very nice.
Really? Okay, I move we adopt this.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Public comment? Yeah, good call. Thanks. Anybody out there with public comment?
No public comment this time.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Okay. And then passed by the commission. It's like other business. Is there any other public comment that folks have that would want to share with the commission?
I am not seeing any hands raised.
Next meeting, penciled in here, December 7th. That should work for me. Anybody have a?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
December 7th.
I will be unavailable on the 7th of December. I'm gone the 3rd through the 9th.
Okay. I personally will be kind of around that whole time. I don't know if anybody, if we want to try to get another date with Brian, if you want to kick around, maybe call me, see if something works better than others.
And then I'll forward it back to you guys.
Yeah, let's see if, because you guys.
Well,
have
let's
stuff,
ask
so-
him right now. Tony, you have your calendar in front of you? You know,
I have her
when you'll be
across the
around in
room.
December?
I have her across the room from me. So, yeah.
I don't know what, I don't have my phone, just say what else, we usually like to do these on Thursdays, right?
14.
It's getting tight with the holiday, so how's that work for you guys, is that tough with?
Or potentially the 31st if we have to go a little bit earlier, like on November 31st.
Is there a November?
I don't think there is.
I don't think there is. a November.
Sorry, not the 31st, but the 30th, what would be that be? The
30.
the
November
30th.
Calendar release.
30th.
I can do.
Sure, anytime on.
Figure it out. 30th, is that okay for you guys? What would work best for the staff and the directors here? Is it closer to the end of the year?
30th is fine. That's the week after Thanksgiving. That is the week after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I like that. Okay,
That works.
perfect. All right, well, I would, unless there's anything else that you guys have, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Ooh. Thank you for your time. Thanks. Thanks.
You got all the way for. Stuff.
For my wife.
You're gonna take your time.
You got it. You got it.
You got it.
Generate 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
I've had events, stress.
The honorary.
Yeah.
Yeah. Keep you 100.